Yo, DARIOUS BRITT here, and today we are breaking down Whiplash. As usual, if you haven't watched it yet, then you should go watch it unless you want me to spoil it. Disclaimer, it's intense. It was written and directed by Damien Chazelle. He's kind of a new guy on the block, but man, is this one hell of a first film. When you're learning filmmaking and screenwriting, it helps to break down other movies into their story elements. I'm going to be using the 3-act story structure to break this thing down. If you're not familiar with it, I will leave a link in the description section to a video on that. Total runtime is 1 hour and 47 minutes. It's about that time to get into it. Inciting incident, the encounter. Fletcher overhears Neiman playing in the music hall. First encounter's a little chilly. Setup, B-story, father and son. Neiman meets his pops for a movie. We get the idea that Neiman's pop doesn't really respect his dreams. First plot point, I choose you. Fletcher handpicks Neiman out of a class to join his studio band. Now Fletcher and Neiman are officially locked into this journey together. Act 2, the roller coaster. C-story, Neiman and Nicole. Neiman asks Nicole out on a date.
You want to meet me here?
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I will.
Great.
Yeah, we gotta work on your lady skills. The first practice session turns cray. This kid shits his pants. This chair's getting workman's comp. Dramatic goal. Neiman wants to be the best, and the best way to get there, play till your fingers bleed. C-story, first date. They both connect on being outsiders. Neiman impresses Fletcher and makes core. B-story, no support. Neiman shares his victory at the dinner table with his family and gets no love. Pops doesn't even have his back. Neiman loses core to a new kid, and the kid isn't even good. Super unexpected. Just like that, you're replaced. C-story, boy loses girl. Neiman dumps Nicole. He sacrifices her for his passion, but apparently he was a jerk to her the whole time anyway. Neiman squares off against 2 other drummers for core. Car accident. Still manages to play, but screws up big time at a show. Fletcher axes him from the entire program, but Neiman goes out swinging. I like this kid. All is lost. Neiman bombed in front of everyone, and he's been completely dismissed from the conservatory. Worse yet, he's being asked to snitch on Fletcher. The worst has happened. Dark night of the soul. Neiman takes down his posters, tosses his drums. It looks like he's given up. Act 3, war. Neiman has a chance run-in with Fletcher at a jazz performance. Fletcher's been fired because of Neiman, but he doesn't know that yet. The two men have a heart-to-heart. Second plot point, the opportunity. Fletcher offers Neiman the opportunity to play in his jazz band at the JVC Fest, and Neiman accepts. This is Neiman's opportunity to get back in the game. C-story resolution. Neiman apologizes to Nicole and invites her to come see him play, but she's got a new boyfriend. The JVC Fest takes off. Neiman takes the stage to play with Fletcher in the band. Act 3 twist, revenge. Looks like Fletcher knew that Neiman got him fired, and he only asked Neiman to play so that he could set him up and bury him in front of everyone. Neiman bombs. This motherfucker just set me up. No, you ain't getting away with that, boo-boo. This is the face of the devil. Climax, the prodigy. Neiman says, screw this, and goes back on stage and sets the drums on fire with mad skills to pay the bills. B-story climax. Pops witnesses his own son's towering talent with a mix of amazement and horror. Resolution. Neiman and Fletcher share a look of approval, share a smile. Cut to black. Boom. Structure. In terms of a narrative, the C story doesn't even tie into the A story, and I think that was the point. Nicole didn't really stand a chance of being anything more than a distraction to Neiman, because you're talking about a guy who's willing to sacrifice anything for his passion. It kind of makes sense that that storyline wouldn't tie into the A story. It's just another loose end to reveal just how obsessed Neiman is. The film doesn't build into any sort of midpoint climax, but Act 2 is definitely a series of victories and defeats. Neiman gets humiliated, then he makes core, and then he loses it, then he wins it again, then he bombs, and then he gets dismissed from the whole school. Up and down, just like a roller coaster, and then each time the stakes get bigger. Now, the second plot point is the exact opposite of what you usually see in movies. Usually, the protagonist comes up with some sort of genius idea to solve his problems, which leads us into Act 3, but here we're given a false truce where things seem cool and the conflict is resolved. In fact, Fletcher gives Neiman an opportunity to pursue his goal one last time. Almost like a peace offering. And Neiman accepts. Of course, it's a freaking setup, but at the time, it seems genuine. This movie has one of the most interesting third acts I've ever seen because the entire playing field has changed. Fletcher gets fired, Neiman gets dismissed from Schaefer. It seems like both characters have lost it all. And then we get this false truce between them where they seem to come to an understanding, and that makes what follows that much more unpredictable. I love how simple the resolution is. Greatness has been achieved, both Fletcher and Neiman acknowledge it. Cut to black. What else do you need? There's nothing else to tie up. Characters. Neither of the main characters, Fletcher or Neiman, are very sympathetic figures. I mean, first off, you've got Fletcher, who's practically a monster, and then you've got Neiman, who's kind of a prick. I mean, he thinks he's better than everybody, including his dad and his girlfriend. But they pursue their passions so doggedly that it kind of makes you just want to root for him anyway. Neiman is obsessed. How do we know? The guy practices until his fingers bleed. The guy gets into a car accident and flees the scene to play bleeding and obviously concussed. Fletcher is a multi-dimensional character. One minute he's a manipulative, dream-eating, psychologically abusive monster, and then the next he can be a genuinely inspiring person who has a heart. At one point we see him mourning for a fallen student. It's these different layers and aspects of him that make him interesting and unpredictable. He doesn't believe that there is such a thing as pushing too hard, but his one redeeming quality is that no matter how screwed up his tactics are, everything that he does is in the service of a greater good. When he explains his methods, it makes sense. It's screwed up, but it makes sense. Thoughts? One of the biggest things this movie has going for it is its relatability. Raise your hand if you've ever been in a classroom. Raise your hand if you've ever had a hardcore teacher or heard stories of hardcore teachers. That's pretty much everybody. Doesn't need much of a setup. It's a simple story. Two obsessed individuals go head to head in a psychological battle of wills. Neiman wants to be the next Charlie Parker. Fletcher wants to find and produce the next Charlie Parker. But the stakes are high. One of Fletcher's prior students killed himself as a result of the abuse. Fletcher is destroying lives. I've heard one person describe this movie as Black Swan with drums, and I think that's actually a pretty accurate description. It's the extremes that make this film so riveting and engaging. The bullying, the abuse of power, the bleeding for greatness, the obsession, the psychological and verbal abuse, the exaggerated reality. It's the extremes that kind of keep this film from being another boring character drama. I have a lot of friends who play drums, and the whole bleeding hand thing, yeah, not very realistic unless you've got super bad technique. Apparently Whiplash really isn't that tough of a score to play, and no teacher in their right mind would put their hands on a student, much less throw a chair at them. People don't get into a car accident and hop behind a set of drums. It's not realistic, but that's part of the beauty of it. It's not supposed to be realistic. It's hyper reality. It's entertaining, it's engaging, and it gets the point across. They've set these characters up so well that you'll buy that they'll do anything to achieve greatness. I don't even really like jazz, and I like this movie. I think I'm gonna go listen to some jazz. By the way, I also do some consulting as well. I give feedback on scripts, I give feedback on film, so if that's something that you are looking for, I will leave a link in the description section so you can get more info on it. Well, that's all I got for you. If you enjoyed what you saw, please like or subscribe. You can find me on the social medias, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, or the Twitter, baby. You can also check out my second YouTube channel, Darious BRITT, where I vlog about my adventures on the film festival circuit, my first feature-length film, unsound live casting vlogs, etc., etc. I do believe that's all I got for you suckers. D-Bird out. Booyah!